the Father, I have lived forever. And so this is our inspiration for today, to know that we are one with this infinite intelligence. We come from the heart of the Father. We come from the heart of the Mother. We come from this creative intelligence, and we are all one, and we live in this together as one. And this is reflected in the musical selection that we had, with the children singing in different languages and all coming together in unity and blending their voices together. The month of March, we are celebrating Women's History Month, and I have been identifying unsung heroes, unsung women heroes whose contributions have either been overlooked or have been forgotten. And so today I want to celebrate Claudette Colvin, a name that you may not be familiar with. While most people in the United States and worldwide know the name Rosa Parks, far fewer are aware of another pioneer in the civil rights movement named Claudette Colvin. 9 months before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus, Colvin did the same thing at age 15 in Montgomery, Alabama. She was arrested and became one of 5 plaintiffs challenging the Montgomery segregated bus laws. And the following year, Brower versus Gale went all the way to the Supreme Court in 1956. Colvin was the last to testify in the case, which ultimately determined the Alabama law as unconstitutional. She wasn't recognized by many of the Black leaders in the movement at that time due to being so young. How often do we discount our youth? And how often do we discount our elders for the wisdom that they bring? She was unmarried and pregnant and had no civil rights training. However, she was not bitter about not being recognized in the same way as Parks was. She says, "I'm not disappointed. Let the people know Rosa Parks was the right person for the boycott, but also let them know that the attorneys took 4 other women to the Supreme Court to challenge the law that ended segregation in the bus system in Alabama." Fast forward to today. In our Science of Mind and New Thought communities, we find ourselves at a crossroad. Some of our communities and some of our ministers, some of our leaders are saying, we only teach spiritual principles. We only teach pure science of mind. While others are saying, no, this is the time to raise our voice in social awareness and social justice. For many of us, it's not an either or, it is a both and. One of our ministers recently posted this. It's quite challenging right now because the noise of the external chaos is quite loud. Some may say our current level of outrage is not merely adequate enough to meet the moment that we are in. And by the time we realize that our outrage is not adequate enough, it will be if it isn't already too late. This is one camp of the opinion. This minister further adds, while we might be reacting to what we can see and hear, what about all that is not obvious? It is legitimate for us to be concerned about hidden influences. I believe it is fair for us to tell our communities to stay awake and be prepared. And so standing in this crossroad and making the choice myself to move in the direction of both and, what I am offering to our community is that we stay alert, we be aware, and we be prepared. Now, this requires effort and work on our part. It requires that we do our research, it requires that we do our own discovery, and that we identify sources that are unbiased as the basis for our fact-finding. keeping an open mind, we discover accurate information that leads to conscious and informed action. And the action that we are to take is revealed to us in a way that works for us individually. And so I'm not advocating that we go out and join the current march. I am not a marcher. I identify and respond in different ways. Find what works for you. Be proactive and make sure that the information that you are receiving and also broadcasting out is based in fact and based in consciousness of truth. Remember, as Science of Mind practitioners, and I'm speaking to all of us who practice the principles and the teachings of Science of Mind, not just the licensed practitioners, but as Science of Mind practitioners, we know that our thoughts create our experience. We live in the world of effect. We live in this material atmosphere. We live in this material world. And there's an exorbitant amount of inequity, including classism, sexism, and many other isms. The challenge becomes, how do we rise and grow deeply? And this leads us into our topic for today, planting intentions. In the Science of Mind, we use the example of seed, soil, and plant to explain the creative process. The process we put into action with our thoughts. It all begins in the soil of the mind, where the plant and the seeds result in the harvest that we experience. We allow the law to do what it does and ultimately give us the fruits of the seeds that we have sown, the fruits of our desired experience. And I offer this morning 3 points for us to consider for planting our intentions. And the first one is to take time for introspection. And I can sum this up in one word, and that is disconnect. Schedule an appointment with your divine self to spend quality time in your own presence. During this appointed time, disconnect from the comings and goings and from the activities that you feel that you quote unquote need to do. I need to go to the store. I need to pay this bill. I need to do this. Whatever we need ourselves to do, disconnect from that. Disconnect from the activities such as daily chores. That's easy for me. TV, social networks, newspapers, emails, and all of the other things that we wind up doing. Take this time with your divine self to just to be present, to rise, to go deeper. Create a loving space where you will not be disturbed. This could be in your home, your apartment, wherever you live. And if you live alone, would be quite easy to find that quiet space. If you share space with someone else, let them know that you're having this appointment with yourself and that you are not to be disturbed. And it could be something simple as sitting in a chair and facing a window. With the springtime now upon us, the trees are blooming, the plants are flowering, birds are chirping. Take advantage of that. It could be that you may need to go to a park. You want to go down to the bay or to the seashore. Or you want to go and find a private space up in the mountains. But make sure that where you go, where you decide to have this place, is that you will not be interrupted. And then become the observer of your own life. Observe the areas of your life where you have forgotten that you are divine. And most importantly, be kind, be gentle, be grateful. And above all, avoid judging what you don't like, because it's going to come up for you. As you become aware of the area or the areas that you do not like what you see, it may trigger some things for you. For an example, getting back to the world of effect, you may not agree with the person or the political party that is in office. You may be reactive. And so ask yourself, whatever your experience is, whatever the trigger is for you, ask yourself, am I reacting from love or fear? Or even attempting a spiritual bypass? Am I worried, preoccupied, or feeling indifferent? During your divine appointment with yourself, pay attention to the feeling or the feelings that are coming up. The intention is to notice, just notice, not necessarily change or bypass the feeling. And this leads into the second point, which is to face your spiritual bypass. We talk about bypass occasionally, and bypass is simply avoidance. The world of effect is constantly changing. Things happen that are not pleasant or logical to our perception of life. When we are searching for a spiritual answer, it can be common to turn around the so-called bad that happens in the world because it can hurt or it can cause suffering. And we find the answer by creating a spiritual bypass for ourselves. Something like some of the responses may be, oh, it's all good. It's all in divine order. It is as it should be. When this happens, people may find themselves acknowledging the suffering and the sorrow and the emptiness by sidestepping their feelings. However, for people who have lived their lives holding on to a series of negative thoughts and feelings about themselves or about other experiences, a sudden, spontaneous, positive thought typically does not change the way they feel at their core beliefs. So the idea here is to not discount or avoid your core feelings, but to be with them, to acknowledge them. Acknowledge where you are and be open to experiencing a different outcome. Eckhart Tolle, in his book, The Stillness Speaks, writes this: when you are immersed in compulsive thinking, you are avoiding what is. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be where you are here now. When you are immersed in compulsive thinking, you are avoiding what is. You don't want to be where you are here and now. Remember, the things that we experience that we do not like are not outside of oneness. They are part of the whole. So we like to have these little categories in our lives. We have the good category on this side, we have the kind of so-so category here, and then we have the bad and the not so good over here. But if you reflect back on our Science of Mind teaching symbol, which is the circle, we're beginning with that circle. Nothing is outside of the aspect and the influence of spirit. So that which we categorize is all part of oneness. And that is important for us to remember, that we are all part of the whole. As we rise together and go deeper, it does not mean that nothing challenging will not occur in the world of effect. To rise higher and go deeper does mean we can stop feeling that we are the doer. We can stop feeling that we must fix our feelings, and we can allow the sway of the life to flow and express as it is through us. So we stop doing and we move into this place of being. In the stillness, we go back to the creative process of the seed, the soil, and the plant. And this is where we put our thoughts into action, knowing that this external awareness becomes the essence of who we are. And our third point this morning is to sow seeds of gratitude. To sow seeds of gratitude. And I reflect back on our musical inspiration with the kids. For those of you who saw the video, the smiles on their faces, even though they were determined and some were looking at their parts, some had memorized their parts, but just the joy of being a part of this, the gratitude for being there. Being conscious of our triggers, we can observe where we feel fear or love. If the triggering issue leads to a feeling of anger, disappointment, frustration, or fear, take a pause. Remember, in one of our earlier talks during this series, we talked about the pause. And I like what Dr. Michael Bethwick says, take that holy breath. We're having this divine appointment. We're having this appointment with our divine self. So take that holy breath. Take that breath. And like me, I remind myself to pause, breathe, engage mind before putting foot in mouth. And most of the time it works. Quantum physics tells us that we live in a world of infinite possibilities, and that we create our experience through the intention that we give to our experience in each moment. And so in such moments where you're expressing gratitude, wrap your thoughts in love and begin to find gratitude for the new awareness that the triggers have provided. Our triggers, which we planted there for other people to push for us, we planted them there, whether we acknowledge it or not. Each time that trigger is triggered, it's an opportunity for us to say, what is this? Am I coming from love? Am I coming from fear? Am I coming from anger? Or am I coming from a place of joy and gratitude? It's an opportunity to recognize where we are and to choose a different response if a different response is required. Love and begin to find gratitude in the new awareness, and allow your heart to remember to sow the feelings of gratitude. We can always find something to be grateful for. And I want to personalize that this morning and invite you to say it with me in first person. I can always find something to be grateful for. Let's say that. I can always find something to be grateful for. Reflect on that for a minute. Reflect on just one thing that you're grateful for. And let's say again, I can always find something to be grateful for. I can always find something to be grateful for. That could become your mantra. I can always find something to be grateful for. Gratitude opens the door to positive feelings such as happiness, joy, and love. In this way, gratitude sows a shift and a feeling of love that blooms in ourselves and also blooms in our consciousness. And so as I wrap this up, I identify our call to action for the week. Search within and stay true to yourself. And I think Shakespeare said it this way, to thine own self be true. Search within, to thine own self be true. In this time of the spring equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere, free yourself from the ego experience of the back and forth of life and consciously align with the creative process. And we do this by seeding our intentions through introspection, facing the tendency to create a spiritual bypass, and consciously sowing gratitude. So as we flow with the coming and going of life, and we plant seeds of intentions, we experience the life that we are designed to live. And that is a life of peace and abundance and joy and happiness and gratitude. Most of all, gratitude. And I invite us to say our affirmation for the week together. And this will be on our screen. Yeah. I embrace knowing that I am enough. Let's say that again. I embrace the wonder of life, knowing that I am enough. Let us take a breath together. And for our time of prayer, I invite us to reflect on this poem by the poet Rumi. In every moment, in every event of your life, wisdom is whispering to you exactly what you need to hear and know. Who ever explained this miracle? It simply is. Listen, and you will discover it every passing moment. Listen, and your whole life will become a conversation in thought and act between your wisdom directly, wordlessly, now and always. And so as I listen, I know that there is one life. That life is God's life. That life is whole, it is perfect, it is complete. It is a life that I am living right here and right now. And as this is true for me, I declare it as the truth for all people in all places, everywhere. And I speak this, my word this morning, knowing that the seeds that I plant in consciousness return back to me multiplied, pressed over, heaped up, and running over, to the point that I can no longer count all of the blessings that are flowing in my life. And so I give gratitude for the overflowing cup of good that is flowing from me out into the world, knowing that in consciousness I make a difference. The thoughts that I send out, those thoughts of affirming love and joy and peace and beauty and gratitude and harmony, all of the qualities that I choose to experience and express in my life, as I send those thoughts out, it makes a difference. And this is true for each one who sends out the thoughts of love and compassion and humility and service and just being the place where God shows up. Our collective consciousness makes a difference. And in knowing that our collective consciousness makes a difference, I let go of any attachment to an outcome. I remain aware and alert. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that all that I have comes from God. And then God did not bring me to this point in this life to leave me. And I speak the same truth for all people in all places at all times. The source of our existence is the infinite. The infinite is not bound by time and space. The infinite expresses love and only love. We are created in love. So we go forth and spread this love throughout the entire planet. I bless places where people are gathering in the name and nature of the one life, of the one love, of the one harmony, knowing that each one is on an individual journey of awakening. And we awaken to the truth of our wholeness. And we awaken to the truth that love is and all is well. I speak my word of blessing this morning for those who are experiencing transitions in their lives. Transition from one place of residence to another. The excitement and the joy of embracing something new in life. I speak a word of blessing for those who have made transitions, those loved ones who have crossed over into the greater yet to be in this thing that is called eternal life. Knowing that each time we think of them, their memory lives on in our hearts and in our minds. And those memories bring a smile to our face as we know our loved ones have now joined the ancestors and are walking with us in the invisible, making the way plain for us in the visible. And for this and so much more, I am eternally grateful. And I release this word into that law which always says yes, knowing that it must produce what I have declared. It cannot and it will not come back to me void. And so I just simply allow it to be. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Now this is our opportunity to participate in our sharing of our abundance. We have an affirmation of abundance that will be on our screen, and I invite us to say this together. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so in deep gratitude again for the ways that we support the Spiritual Center. Thank you for those who mail in your donations to our center, and that information is on the screen. Thank you to those who donate by text, and that information is on our screen. And thank you to those who donate through our website, and that information is on our screen. And has the basket been passed? As the greeter passes the basket, we'd just like to share with our viewing audience that next Sunday, our guest speaker will be our own practitioner, Amber Guzman, and she will be concluding our March series with the topic Blossoming in Swaying, Blossoming in the Swaying. And so I invite us all to come out and to support Amber as she brings forward the message. And then I also invite you to go to our newsletter, which is on our website, to find the information about other information about activities that are going on here at the center. And so to our Facebook and YouTube communities, know that we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank God for you.